Orca's got a new radio. They did a tease. We talked about it last week on the news, and this week they showed us what they had. So they have a new beginner-focused radio. So they're bringing out a new radio, and they're aiming it generally at beginners.
Yeah, when Orqa said they had a new product coming and teased it, I thought, well, let's look at the products Orqa has teased and released in the past. Some kind of adapter to let you play video games on your goggles through your phone. And I'm like, hey, Orqa, you know what we want? We want the Orqa V2 or we want the digital HD system. And so when they teased something, I was like, well, it's clearly not going to be those. And when it turned out to be this is not like the worst thing they could have made is a new controller, Blunty, assuming it's good quality. But they made a really weird decision, didn't they?
Yeah, so there's a couple things here. One is that this is meant for a Ghost module. So this radio does have a JR bay, but it is not a standard JR or a light JR bay. It's what we can discern. I don't think they have an official name, but Uber Light, since that's the name of the module, that's what I've been calling the actual bay. But it is a smaller version of the JR Light bay, meant for this slide-in form factor.
Yeah, and they said, it's an advantage because it's flush with the back of the radio. And I don't know about you. I think you agree. I'm like, the last thing the world needs is another gosh darn module standard for people to have to. Right now, we've got the Light Bay and the JR Bay. And that's already, I was annoyed with FreeSky when they invented the Light Bay, but at least it's smaller and fits better on small radios. But this, I don't see a reason for this.
Yeah.
Except...
well, what I will say is, so they've said, and I asked again recently in the last day, just to confirm, they are not going to be supporting anything but this Ghost module on this radio, as this radio is not OpenTX, and it doesn't have a screen. This radio will all be configured over Bluetooth over a phone app that they will design.
Which, okay. Spectrum did that, I think, with the Spectrum DXE. It had a phone app and it didn't have a screen. So I like in principle the idea of releasing a inexpensive, decent build quality, beginner focused radio that it doesn't require complicated setup. But the two choices they made that I am not sure I'm completely on board with are making it Ghost only. Not that Ghost is great. I like Ghost. If I had to pick one control link today, cover your ears, Blunty, it might be Ghost. I know you wish it would be Express LRS, if I had to pick one. But beginners, what's wrong with Ghost for beginners? Can't beginners use Ghost?
Well, I think the biggest issue, to me is pretty glaring, is that if you're a beginner and you want to start in the hobby and your only option is Ghost because that's the radio you've purchased, then you're going to go look for a quad to get. And you're either going to build, which, okay, you can build and buy Ghost receivers, or you're going to get a bind and fly. And for most users, that's a whoop. You're going to start with your radio, you're going to sim with the radio, and then you're going to buy like a Tiny Hawk or something. And then that is going to be, your next, your step up into the hobby. Yeah. Or you're going to buy a bind and fly, and you're going to buy that you're going to get that with the protocol that you have, whether that be FreeSky or Crossfire or whatever you have now. And slowly, the other protocols are encroaching. But at least on most radios that you have some internal radio option, or your external radio is more supported.
Right.
So I think the big thing for me is like, I feel like, they're pitching this as like, hey, I even put a quote in there somewhere in that album just to say, they said, hey, we want to target this for like being in Walmart. We want a mother to buy this for their kid, and then their kid to take it home and sim with it, and then they can get into the hobby like that, and they think it's like an entry into the hobby.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Reminds me of that guy on TikTok. I don't know if I'm the only one who sees him. He's like, I like it. Yeah, makes sense. And then he goes, what?
Yeah.
It's TikTok. It doesn't make sense unless you've seen it.
Loco,
like, I'm with you.
Yeah, June Loco, I'm just giving an example, like, because nothing comes with Ghost. Like, there's no whoop you can buy with Ghost. So the whole point of this is just that, like, what are you going to buy if you're this new user and all you can upgrade to is the Ghost module that you plug in? So this radio is supposed to be basically $89. You get the radio, and that has Bluetooth, and that's kind of what you get, is the radio with Bluetooth. And then if you want to buy the Ghost module later, they haven't announced a price. My guess would be like 50 to 70, somewhere in that pocket for the Ghost module that they're going to add in. So, in some respects, it's cool to have a step-up solution for a Ghost radio that seems to be, solid.
But so this is not like a deal breaker though, because all they have to do is have plans to have there be choices for beginners to buy quads with Ghost installed. And that is not an insurmountable challenge. I guarantee you, if Tony Cake went to iFlight, I'm just picking on iFlight because they're one of the big makers, or Diatone of bind and fly quads. If he went to them and said, look, we want you to sell quads with our receivers in them. We're going to give you a great deal on the receivers. And I don't know, we're going to incentivize you in some way. It's just, that is a thing that absolutely could be made to happen. You could even just have a special edition that you partner with them on. But currently, I don't think there is a single bind and fly that comes with Ghost in it.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. There may be one or two, but yeah, I was not able to locate one easily, when I looked around. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Like, I get where they're coming from on it, but I just feel like it's strange to bring out this, like, no OpenTX. So one of the things they say is like, oh, OpenTX is a hurdle because OpenTX is difficult for a new person to learn. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know that many new people that have stopped because OpenTX was a big hurdle for them. For me, more it's like
it's far from the biggest.
How to slaughter up the drone and how to do the beta flight, and like there's all the other pieces of it, So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm interested to see how this takes,
The other thing, and the lack of OpenTX is the other thing, and I don't want to sound like I'm gatekeeping, because obviously I hope that I'm the furthest person from gatekeeping in this hobby. I feel like I do a lot to get people into the hobby, but
of course, yeah.
The OpenTX is just the de facto standard for radios and FPV. And it's the same as the argument I make about Mode 3, which I know you disagree with, so we'll see if you agree with me here, which is that if you get into the hobby on this radio, it's not so much that you're going to pick up somebody else's radio and need to know how to work it, but you are going to be locked out from a lot of technical material. If you say, I want to set up a throttle-based timer, OpenTX radio, if I want to set up air mode, whatever you want to do with your OpenTX radio, there is a tutorial out there to help you do it, probably. Whereas with this, it sounds like they're saying, well, either they're going to make some things easy to do, and they're going to make some things impossible to do. And then the only support materials for this radio will be the ones that they make, which, like, I don't know, is there a tutorial out there for how to set up the Orqa goggles? Have they made that?
Well, I don't know, actually.
I don't know.
It's a good point, though. It's a similar idea, right?
Yeah, so if we go to Orqa's FPV channel, let's see what they got. I'm happy to be proven wrong. So release videos, promo videos. Oh, here we go. Settings, buttons, HD DVR, connectors, power module base 2 years ago. Yeah, so 2 years ago, when the goggles basically first came out, they released some tutorial videos and setup videos, but everything, they have only, 15, 20 videos in 2+ years. So they have a user manual, but my point is that there's an advantage to being part of that OpenTX ecosystem, and I'm concerned that they're missing out by going a different direction.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. We'll see how that goes. Let's talk about something more positive. Oh, hang on, you got something?
Well, no, I want to see how it works for people. People are saying like, oh, they should include a SIM license and stuff, but Orqa's SIM is free. So their whole idea is to get you, hey, buy this radio, and you take this $89 radio home, you Bluetooth it up or sync it up or USB it up to your computer, and then you play our SIM, and then it's all one thing, and then you move forward with our system. So
yeah. Van Leave wants to know why would I advocate for a radio where I can't make content to peddle to Patreon supporters? That's exactly right. If anyone were to release something that was actually super easy to use, I would shit on it, because if it's super easy to use, then no one needs me to educate them, and I lose all purpose in life. That's why I don't do more KISS content, because it's so easy to use and flies so good. That's why there's very little KISS content on the internet. No one needs tutorials for KISS, and no one needs PID tuning advice for KISS, because you just flash it, and don't even flash it, just solder it up. Do you even have to solder up KISS flight controllers? I don't know. No, I think you just hold it near your box of parts, and it self-assembles, and it goes and flies itself, and you're Mr. Steele. So that's why, it's not interesting to me. You got it, Venleave. You nailed it. You were right on the mark. Well done.